Welcome to the Global Investor Podcast, a show that focuses on helping foreign investors enter the lucrative U.S. real estate market. Host Charles Carillo combines decades of real estate investing experience with a professional background in international banking to interview experts in all areas of U.S. real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Charles Carillo.
Hi, global investors. Before we get started with today's episode, are you looking to finance your U.S. real estate investment as a foreign investor? Contact universalcommercialcapital.com. They do not require any credit history, employment, income verification, or permanent residency status. All you need to have is the minimum 35% down payment in a U.S. banking institution for 2 months. Rates start at 6% with a 30-year term. The whole approval process can be completed in 30 days. Call 888-334-9039 or email them at info@universalcommercialcapital.com. Welcome to another episode of the Global Investors Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Carillo. Today we have Powell Chee. Powell is a syndicator and general partner in 1,000 plus units, specializing in out-of-state multifamily properties. He lives in Los Angeles and started in 2015 with a house in Kansas City, then purchased a 40-unit apartment building in Indianapolis, and then a 61-unit property. In 2019, he was a general partner on 900 plus units, spread over 5 larger properties in Dallas, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Phoenix, and San Antonio. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Sure. Thank you, Charles. Happy to be here.
So can you give us a little professional background on yourself prior to getting involved with real estate in 2015?
Yeah, sure. So, professionally wise, I've been in sales. I've been in sales since like around 2010-ish. Previous career, I was actually in coaching. I was in athletics. And so totally separate thing. I was in that for a while, but then I got into sales, started doing pretty well with sales. We were working for a couple of Fortune 100 type of companies, did fairly well. And then I started looking to what to do now that I'm starting to make some money and started to think like, how am I going to invest this? And that's what kind of led me to real estate investing. It wasn't right away or anything, but through a series of time, it kind of led to real estate investing.
So how did you pick real estate as your investment vehicle?
At first I didn't, right? At first it was mostly stocks and, trying to figure out stocks and things like that. Just kind of the normal path I think that many people take. I did read Robert Kiyosaki's book. I'm sure that everybody's read, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Super inspirational. Totally wanted to do it. I read that back in, I think, 2005-ish, somewhere around that time. So it had been a while since I had read that book, but I just didn't feel like I could apply the same principles as the book. And I didn't really feel like there was any follow-up I could do after reading the book. I was really inspired, really wanted to do it, really was looking for a way to do what he was talking about. But living in Los Angeles, thinking about trying to buy a house and rent it out, it was like, minimum houses are around $500,000, and you're talking that's like a condo, or it depends on where in LA. And I was just thinking, how am I going to ever save up 20% down to do this? And that's going to be a long time before I'm able to do that. Yeah. Make that happen. So I just really didn't see a way of doing that back in 2005, 2006, 2007. And then what brought me to real estate was that I started listening to a few podcasts, and I started really realizing that people can do this outside of their local area. So you don't have to live in Los Angeles and buy in Los Angeles. You can live in Los Angeles and buy somewhere else. And that just blew me away. I was like, no way, you can do that. And, as I've gotten more into it, you realize that nowadays it's as easy as it's ever going to be, right? I mean, it's only going to get easier, right? The technology is going to improve. Everything's just improving constantly. It was a lot harder 30 years ago, but now it's a lot easier. It's just going to get easier and easier. So that just really opened my eyes to the possibilities of investing outside of California in general.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was going to be my second thing, because most people are dead set on the area that they live in, which is obviously the best place if you can do it there, but it's really thinking outside the box. If you're going to, you're going 1,000 plus miles away from where you live to invest. But so tell us about your first couple of real estate investments. You started with single family, and then you quickly escalated into multifamily, larger multifamily.
Yes. So first was a single family house that I bought in 2015, at the end of 2015, a single family house in Kansas City. So again, living in Los Angeles, buying in Kansas City really was a turnkey type of property, right? I bought it through a turnkey provider. But I actually did really well on it. And it was one of those things, though, I realized really quickly it was just not scalable. The way I did it, it was just happened to be I got really lucky, or I happened to do good research. I don't know, maybe a little combination of both, but it was not something that was going to be able to be repeated as often as I would have liked to, right? I was thinking I wanted to repeat this a couple times a year, or maybe minimum twice a year. And I was just, after I did it, I thought, I can't, I either got really lucky, or I just did some really good research, but it's not something that was repeatable for me the way I was doing it. So quickly after that, I just thought, if I'm going to scale, I'd heard a lot about doing multifamily and picking up more units, and thought, this is probably the way I'm going to do it. So about a year later, which is the very beginning of January 17, bought my first property, which was a 40 unit building in Indianapolis. And so that was my first involvement with multifamily. And since then, continue on in that, I guess, in that fashion. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was the focus? The focus point on larger properties was the scalability factor. That was the main thing.
Yes, it was the scalability. And, quickly I was realizing that I was going to have to partners very, very soon, because I was going to run out of money. I just was going to run out of money, and I couldn't really wait to have, to build up enough money through my job to buy another house, to just continue that process was just going to be too slow to do more than once a year. Buy a house, save up enough money, buy another house, save up enough money. That was just going to take way too long. I was just like, it's not going to be the way that I want to do it. I'd like to go a lot faster than that. So I realized I was going to have to buy bigger properties, but then I also realized I was going to have to get other people involved, because I was just going to run out of money.
You run out of money and you run out of resources too. So
yeah, absolutely.
How are you able to, so you went from 40, 60 units in, 2 years there. And then in 2019, you put up nearly 1,000 units. Can you explain a little bit how you were able to grow your business, what you got set in 2018 that made it possible for you to grow it so big last year?
Yeah. And I'll just rewind a little bit just to kind of go through the journey of how I did it and everything. But after January 2017 was my first 40 unit Indianapolis. And the next year, it took me a year to buy another property, because I had to get it stabilized. It's my first multifamily, stabilized, working with property managers, all the different things. And I was doing it all on my own. And it wasn't easy, just kind of learning it all on your own, doing it all on your own. Wasn't very easy at all, and didn't have anybody around really that could help me. So then it took me about a year, and I got another 61 unit deal under contract. But at that point, I had a few friends and a few family members that were saying, "Hey, Powell, we'd like to support you. We'd like to get in on your next deal. We like what you're doing. So let's move forward with, try to get on." So they partnered with me, and on my next 61 unit deal. So that was exactly a year later, January of 2018. And again, I was doing primarily the stuff, most of it on my own, right? I found the deal, analyzed the deal, got the groups together, got everybody together, raised the capital, and was running most of the deal, most of it by myself. But, all the partners are involved, but, for the most part, I was the point person. And after that second one, so January 2018, I realized quickly that I was running out of time. I was thinking, how are looking at other people, and I'm thinking, how are they able to do so many deals in a year? It takes me a year to do another deal, and I don't know how I can speed this up, especially the pace that I'm going at. So really, I started to look quickly after that into getting into syndications. And with syndications, I wasn't going to be the main person doing everything. I wasn't going to be the main person finding the deal, analyzing the deal, doing all the due diligence, raising the capital, then doing the operations afterwards, and then trying to do all that. So really, I started to partner with people who were syndicators who I could fit in on a certain role and be bring my strength to the table at that point. And at this point also, my network had become much stronger. So when I had my 40 unit, my 61 unit, my network wasn't very strong at that point. It was, like I said, friends and family that knew what I was doing, but I didn't have much in terms of outside people that I knew that were doing what I was doing. And so by that time, my network had grown a lot stronger. And now I knew a lot more people that were doing what I was doing, a lot more people that were interested in doing what I was doing, a lot more people that could help me. And all of that was kind of culminated and allowed me to get into about 900, a little over 900 units in just 1 year in 2019, and get involved in 5 different syndications, certainly partnering with other people. So it's not just me as the one person that's running the whole thing. I am partnered with several different people on those, and then I can bring in what is really my strength to the table. So.
Okay, awesome. Now you still have a day job and you're an out-of-state investor, so there's a lot of hurdles that you have to jump to keep everything moving. What systems do you have in place with your teams now to keep everything running? I mean, talking to property managers, vetting new deals, doing asset management, actually walking the properties after you've purchased them.
Yeah, I mean, we slowly build these systems in place. I mean, honestly, the very first thing was that I've got a partner. So one business partner, him and I run almost everything that we do through each other. And our skills are very complementary skills. And we found that we were both, actually, like how we met was we were actually competitors. We were both bidding on properties in Indianapolis that were around that, say, 40 to 60 unit size. And then he started sending me the deals. Like he sent me the deal with his underwriting. And I was like, wow, this guy's pretty open. He's just sending me, like, he's telling me where he's going to bid and how much he's going to bid on it. I mean, I was like, okay, and then so I was, I tried to be respectful and tell him, okay, well, I won't bid on that one just at the same price that you are. I won't put in $5,000 more than you do or whatever, something like that. But then we just started to do that back and forth. I said, hey, do you know about this property? And maybe you want to bid on it too. I said, you can go ahead, and then I show my underwriting. And then we just started sharing our underwriting a lot to each other and realizing that we were very close. We were, talking all the time. And we just decided, hey, let's start working together. And then at this point, we started to figure out what are our skills, right? And his skills were a little bit more on the underwriting side. So his focus was on the underwriting side. My side was really on the network side, capital side and network, and also the broker side and things like that. So we started to focus on what our strengths were. And that really helped. That's just that simple thing allows you to just move a lot faster, right? Because he's a lot better at underwriting than I am. So I don't need to, he might do 3 or 4, deals and underwrite them. And I do one. And then, by the time I finish that one, he's already like moved on to a couple ones. So why am I holding the company back by doing the underwriting and then giving it to him, then figuring it out and that kind of thing? So it's like, no, let him do the underwriting. Let me work on the network side of it. Let me look on the sort of the big picture of where we're going. And so that's really helped. I mean, that right there. And then you just build in some small systems to be in place, like, communication channels. We use Slack, we use Slack a lot, and we use Asana as well. As I ask them what types of specific systems. Those are the 2 systems that we use a lot, just like project-based would be Asana, and then Slack is our communication channel. And those have been great tools for us.
Do you guys, when you're doing asset management, are you the one that usually speaks to the property manager? I know probably weekly, or it's deal dependent?
Yeah, so it is deal dependent, and it depends on which, I guess it depends on which deal, right? So it is deal dependent. And there will be times where, yes, on some of the properties that I have where I'm talking with them. Yeah, I mean, it could be formally, we have a call every 2 weeks, but we talk to each other probably every week because there's things that go back and forth, emails and phone calls and text messages and things like that are so going back. And yeah, and it could be all kind of different, but yeah, each deal is a little deal dependent.
So, I mean, we've met through different networking conferences and stuff like this, and you speak to a lot of new investors. And I always like to speak to more seasoned investors and see exactly what mistakes they think or they see other investors making, whether it's dependent on where we are in the market cycle, or is it just factors that aren't dependent on the market cycle? What do you commonly see?
I think that what I've seen recently in a lot of people is a lot of paralysis analysis with with newer investors, right? There's a lot of questions with everything. So questions about like, hey, what's the market cycle like? Or should you invest at this time? There's, am I doing my is this underwriting right? Is this market good? What's the difference between Houston and Phoenix? And, why wouldn't you invest in Atlanta? And a lot of these questions that, I mean, truthfully, like they're all, there's many good markets. And if you kind of choose 3 of them, you can move forward with them. You don't have to figure out, okay, well, is Nashville really better than Atlanta? I mean, really, unless you're living there, to me, when you're not living there, it doesn't really matter that much. They're probably the same flights away, so it doesn't really matter. But a lot of people get really bogged down into like these details of things like that. And I just saying, like, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, you got to talk to a broker first. Like, you got to talk to people and get some of these deals and look at them and analyze them before you start worrying about whether or not, I don't know, whether or not San Antonio might be better than Kansas City or something like that. So I see a lot of analysis paralysis where I think people should actually just move on and just like start to get things going. Because the action is really what generates a lot of momentum. It really generates a lot of momentum with other people. And they see you doing stuff. They want to be part of what you're doing. When you're doing more stuff, it just allows you to just like pile on more and more and just like get that snowball going. And you can really kind of just harness that sort of energy. But if you just stay stuck, your energy is not moving forward. And it's just a lot of back and forth talk, in one ear, out the other one, and that kind of thing. Just, you're not really going anywhere, and you're not really making any momentum happen. I really believe that action is more important, really, than I don't know, to be than worrying about everything aside.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good markets out there now, and the main thing we look for is usually job growth when we're looking through for markets, and we're mainly specific in the whole Southeast, Florida mainly. But it's, there's job growth going in these areas, and you make sure that there's population growth. It's things you look at, and then you have to pull the trigger on what you're doing. But you're right on. The more active you are, it pulls more people to you. It's more, you're like a magnet, because now people want to send you deals. People want to partner with you. People are asking, how can we work together? You know what I mean? So, which I imagine you're getting a lot of when doing different networking events.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's gain. That snowball has moved, is moving pretty well for me. So I'm pretty lucky in that fashion.
Nice. I want to switch gears a little bit, and you started a local meetups around the United States and I guess internationally. So you guys have over 50 meetups, and I run the one with one of my partners in Tampa. And give us a little bit about multifamily masters and how you guys are doing that and how it started.
Sure. So, when I had my first 40-unit apartment building, which was, like I said, January 2017. At that time, I mentioned a little bit that I was doing this all by myself, right? And I didn't, I had gone through programs, and I'd learned in programs, kind of learned in podcasts and books and, forums and things. But I was doing it all by myself, and I was realizing that I don't like being the lone wolf out here just doing this all by myself. Like, there's other people doing this, but I'm not interacting with them all. I'm just sitting in front of a computer all the time. And that wasn't really that fun for me. It's just, I didn't like that. All right. Just nobody to talk to about, hey, what about this? Or have you thought about this? Or what would you do in this situation? I'm having this problem. What would you do? Or what have you done before? And I had none of that. I had no network really at all. Well, I mean, I had a very small network. I'd say it was just friends and family. And then so about December, I think, of 2017, around that time, I thought about, maybe I had gone to other meetups by this point. I'd gone to other local meetups, and they had focused a lot on, real estate investing in general. So it was about, hey, here's wholesaling and flipping and, just a lot of different things like that, private lending, anything like that. And then there was one that was local that was on multifamily, but it was all multifamily in California. So it's about buying like a 2-unit or 3-unit or maybe a 6-unit in LA, right? And to me, at this point, I was like, this is not what I want. I want a network of people who want to invest outside of California, but also want to focus on multifamily. So I started my own out-of-state multifamily investing, meetup group. And it was, it was kind of nerve-wracking at first because I just said, I was kind of inspired and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. So a week later, I said, I'm going to do it here. And I just did it in the hotel lobby of just a hotel. I didn't really tell them that I was going to meet there. I just said, let's have people, let's go meet there. And so there was about 8 people showed up. And I was like, okay, cool. I was happy. I was real nervous in the beginning. I was like, who's going to show up to this? I hope that somebody shows up. And, we just all talked about real estate and what we were doing. And everybody seemed really positive after it. And I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to continue to do this. Let's continue and make this, let's see if we can get this to grow. So the next time I had it, it was about 20 people. And that quickly sort of outgrew that lobby area because they basically kicked me out after that time. They said, you can't come here anymore if you guys aren't going to eat anything or pay for any food. So had to start looking for places, found a couple of places, restaurants and things like that would we'd be able to meet at. And so that group started growing and gained some momentum here in LA. Within 6 months, I opened up 2 more chapters in LA. So with some partners of mine. So 6 months, we had 3 chapters total. Long Beach chapter, my chapters in the South Bay in Los Angeles, and then another in West LA. And then we were running that for a while, pretty well. We were feeling pretty good about where we're at and feeling like we were growing pretty well. And then about a year later, we decided to add more chapters because at this point, a lot of people had been asking us to open up some chapters, and so we were saying yes, and then we're figuring out how to grow. And we actually opened up, I think at that time it was 8 total chapters in LA. Wow. And so we opened up several, a bunch of them that all opened up at that same time. And we had about 8 chapters running. And we were there for a little while, but then we quickly started to grow to 15 to then it started to be 30. So in that year that we grew from 3 to 8, that was in May of 2019. And then by September of 2019, we had already had about close to 30. And by the end of 2019, we were really hovering at about that 50 right then.
Wow. I didn't know you had 8 in LA. That's a lot. That's a lot of meetups there. I thought you had 5, which is a lot as well. But I mean, 8 is how many, what's your turnout at those events?
They can, they're anywhere from, I would say 25 to some of them are in the 60 to 70 range. Wow. Yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure LA at 6 o'clock, people who are driving are, they don't want to, you see the traffic out there. They're like, I'm not driving 30 miles to sit in 2 hours of traffic to get to this place at 6 o'clock. Like I'll go to the one that's close to me. Yeah. And so we've, we opened up about eight of them, and nice. It's just LA. And that's not including some of the other counties and everything. There's, Orange County that's right next to us. And there's, some other counties that are right by that we're opening up chapters there too. So
nice. Yeah. So you guys have 50 plus. I know I went to your one in Hong Kong, your first one that you had there a couple months back. So that was awesome.
I mean, we're super happy about that, right? We got international chapters going as well, right? So Hong Kong, you were there at our very first one, with our very first international meetup. So, I mean, that's just that was huge for us to say that, like, hey, we're international now. Our second one is in Dubai.
Wow, okay.
Sorry, Abu Dhabi, not Dubai, yeah. Abu Dhabi. And then we have, interest again from Israel, it looks like as well, that we have interest from Israel. We have interest from let's see, I think Singapore, yeah, or Malaysia. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's great. You know, we're excited about that. That's
They're good
excited the
places
way
with
it's
money,
going.
so it's a good place to find people to partner with. So that's awesome.
I mean, really, that's what this was about, right? This is
Yeah.
why I created it, was really to say, hey, like, there's, when you're doing this all by yourself, it's not all that fun. And, you know, if you're just sitting behind a computer, or I don't know, for me, it's not all that fun. But when you're actually in a group with people, and you're in a group and you're talking about real estate and what people are doing, and you get inspired to hear, wow, this guy just started and he's already going and he's already got this, and this girl, you know, she got this under contract and she's only started real estate investing like 3 months ago, and she's already got something under contract, and these people are doing this, and you get really excited to hear all that. And then this whole network is really just allows people to connect from anywhere. So you could be in LA, and then the chapters that are going on in Tampa, maybe some people over there have a deal then, and the people in LA, you know, they might have connections to people in Tampa. Now they decide, hey, I'd actually like to invest in Tampa. I have friends there, I have family there, I grew up there, so I'd be more comfortable actually investing there. And now we have connections all over, so people all over the world can potentially, you know, get involved in that too. They say, well, you know, I like Texas, or I like, you know, I like Baltimore, or anywhere that we have. So really think it's great.
Every networking, every multifamily masters I've gone to, I meet very interesting people, great contacts that I keep in contact with. It's awesome. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. So how can people learn more about your business, and if they want to reach out to you about a meetup, if they want to do one in their local area or something like this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the best place to go for our meetups is go to multifamily masters, when that's with the s.com. So if you go to multifamily masters, you can see in there where our locations are currently, as well as getting in contact with us. And you can see a little bit of our background of several of the people who are in the leadership, and you can always write to us. Another great place is our Facebook group. So if you go to multifamily masters and then you put .com after it, and you look for that specific Facebook group, that one will lead you to our Facebook group, and there you can just apply to get in, and start posting from there. There's and all of our chapter leaders are in there, and people post what when they have their meetings, as well as posting other content about things that are coming up in real estate, and all of the chapter leaders are there to respond as well, and connect people, and that's really what it's all about for us.
Okay, awesome. And you guys also have a virtual meetup too that you do once a month for everybody that's a member?
Yeah, and we just started that. So we just started it last month, was our first one. So so January of 2020 was our very first one of doing a virtual meetup. And we wanted to test the waters. So we did it online. We thought, I don't know how many people are going to show up to this. We don't know, what time zone, all those kind of different things that we're thinking about, right? We're probably overthinking it, really. And thinking about what kind of topics are we going to bring up, who's going to speak, or we're going to have a host, or we're going to, all these kind of questions. And, but it turned out great. It actually turned out great. So we had a maximum capacity of 100 people. And I think we had over 200 something registrants, but we hit capacity within the very first few minutes of getting on there. So we didn't know if we would hit capacity. We didn't know what type of response that people would, that they would register and actually show up or not. But we got on, the three of us, the three in the leadership got on about an hour early, just to test the systems and to just go over our agenda and things like that. And there was already like 6 people on. And then by the time we were done, there was probably like 10 people on, and it was 45 minutes before we even started. And so we're like, oh, these 10 people, they're go-getters. They really want to get on early and make sure they had a spot. So it was great. So we're planning to do that, continue to do that. We may even decide to grow it, because the response was so great that maybe we'll decide to do this more often than once a month. But the plan is to do it once a month, at least throughout the rest of the year. Maybe by the time this comes out or so, maybe we'll decide to actually increase that amount. So
yeah, no, it's a great way of learning, and obviously all of this is all free. So it's a great resource if you are an experienced investor, or if you want to start investing into multifamily. And about your business as well, and I'll put all the links to it. Your investment company.
Yeah, it's funny, and I kind of tell this story, and I've done this a little bit just to kind of make a point. But when I first started, I always, you hear about, hey, create your company, create your logo, create your brand and everything, get out there. And I didn't do that really that much. So I didn't have a website until I had 100 units already purchased. So, I was talking to brokers without a website. I was just using my personal Gmail, right? No website, no brand, no logo, no nothing, right? Still able to get 100 units under my belt at that point. And then I decided, okay, well, I got 100 units. I might as well put up my my website, right? So I did put it up, had it up for 6-8 months or something like that. Got a cease and desist letter from a lawyer who said, you're infringing on our customers, trademark or things like that. And I said, that's fine. I mean, I'll let it go. So I just kind of just shut down the website, and I haven't put it up since. And that's one of those things that I'm like, I mean, I should put up this and put up that. But truthfully, I don't know. At this point, I will eventually, but it's really low on the totem pole of things to do right now. But so people can reach out to me, honestly, just reach out to me on my personal email, which is Powell.Chee. So it's my first name, my last name @gmail.com. And happy to reach out to me there.
Yeah, I'll put that into the notes section. I'll put that in the notes for the podcast and YouTube video. So yeah, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great time talking with you, Charles.
Yeah, hope to see you soon, and have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, guys. This is Charles from the Global Investors Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're interested in investing in real estate and you don't know where to begin, set up a free 15-minute strategy call with me at schedulecharles.com. That's schedulecharles.com.
Thank you for listening to the Global Investor Podcast. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to get new weekly episodes. For more resources and to receive our newsletter, please visit globalinvestorpodcast.com. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Harborside Partners Incorporated exclusively.